It is soft on crime that's to blame here, and that is a Democrat policy. They created that policy, and voters know it. It is low or no bail policies that let criminals out. It is the empty the prisons mentality that puts criminals back on the streets. It is the left's war on police that has resulted in 5 officers shot and killed in the line of duty just this year. It is the let them take what they need rules that lets thieves go without challenge.
There's no violation of a Second Amendment right. We talk like there's no amendment that's absolute. When the amendment was passed, it didn't say anybody can own a gun and any kind of gun and any kind of weapon. You couldn't buy a cannon when this amendment was passed. And so no reason why you should be able to buy certain assault weapons.
The founders wrote the Second Amendment so we, the militia, could stand up equally to a tyrannical government. There is no argument about that. We, the people, most certainly could own a cannon back then, much to his surprise, obviously, and nearly every historian in America is in full agreement with me on that.
You know, it's interesting that he was in New York City, of all places. He goes to the crumbling city of AOC and total Democrat control to say, hey, we need to double down on our failed gun restriction policies. New York City has some of the most restrictive gun laws in America. And if they worked, New York City would be some sort of safe haven with the lowest gun crimes. But of course, that isn't the case. And so they're going to attack us who are getting it right in other areas, and instead of dealing with the real root cause, which is them.
The president is saying that more spending will fix this. Nothing about progressive DAs normalizing felonies and the low to no cash bail policies. How come he didn't mention that, Congressman?
That's a great question. It's absolutely outrageous. The president said we need gun reform. We don't need that. We need reform of radical district attorneys. That's the problem. As you said, it's these progressive DAs with these crazy policies where they won't prosecute crime. They're reducing felonies to misdemeanors. They're weakening their bail policies, and it leads to more crime. This is not rocket science. An 8th grade civics student could figure this out. They're also the open border policies. That's a big root cause of all these problems, because dangerous people are coming across the border, being shipped around the country on planes and buses to a neighborhood near you. And we know fentanyl is flooding over the border, and that's leading to all sorts of street crime and gangs and everything else. So it's the president's and his party's policies and their dangerous rhetoric, of course, about defunding the police that has led to all this.
So many were hoping the president would call out Bragg's policies today. He did not. But with her words there, she wants to cut him some slack. Does that make her part of the problem, considering it is the DA's far-left policies that are partially to blame for this spike in crime?
Absolutely. The governor should be doing just the opposite. She should be telling Bragg, if you don't prosecute the cases, if you don't go after violent criminals, if you let people out on bail for violent crimes, I'm going to remove you, because she has the power to do that. She sent the absolute wrong message. You know, Bragg's first memo out of the box when he became district attorney was to talk about releasing criminals and not protecting victims. We need a new district attorney in Manhattan.
President Biden came to New York City because in this city there is a violent crime upsurge, and police officers are getting gunned down, and it's horrible. Now, for 17 years under Giuliani and Bloomberg as mayor, violent crime was pretty much under control in the city of 8 million plus. But then the communist Bill Blasio took over, 2 terms, if you can believe he was reelected, and the legislature in Albany, the state legislature in New York, went far, far left. The combination of the two attacked the police. De Blasio cut $1 billion from the police budget in New York City, $1 billion. So that let criminals commit crimes with impunity.
They lost the balls to go after criminals, right? They can't criminalize crime. They now look at victims as actual, well, everybody's a victim now. You're a victim of society. It's really depressing when you see he didn't talk about the revolving door, no cash bail, the reduced sentencing. These are, or the policies that those widows succinctly described and condemned. You didn't even talk about gangs. Instead, they go after gun manufacturers as opposed to gunmen. The people getting pushed in front of subways were not shot. The people getting stabbed were not shot.
The problem in New York is very simple. Number one, there is criminal privilege. They don't get arrested. If they do, they get released. They don't get prosecuted. If the president were serious, number one, he would have said, I'm going to meet with the governor about discussing whether or not the DAs are enforcing the law. We don't need any new laws. We've got the laws.
Instead of talking about that, he sat there pontificating about gun control, and in front of the NYPD, no less. Remember, the same NYPD that just buried 2 fallen officers, thanks to the Manhattan DA's weak on-crime policies that gave this solution.
We need more social workers. We need more mental health workers. It's time to fund community policing to protect and serve the community.
Come on. Mental health workers cannot stop violent thugs with no regard for human life. Here's what needs to happen. Let cops do their jobs again. It's a really simple deal here. And let's get prosecutors who will prosecute criminals again. And instead of talking about judges who need to stop letting gangbangers walk, that's what he should be talking about. Instead, nope, Joe Biden goes after and attacks the Second Amendment.
Police officers delivered historic crime reductions in the 20 years prior to this huge spike that we saw in violent crime over the last 2 years. We've done it before, and we can do it again. But here's how we do it. We have to actually enforce the rule of law. We have to make sure that we are actually prosecuting criminals when they commit crimes. We need to vehemently prosecute violent crime. If someone uses a gun in a crime, we should be seeking the maximum, not giving them a slap on the wrist and letting them back out. And we certainly shouldn't be giving them a PR bond where they just pinky promise to show up to court. We need to embrace broken windows theory so that we can fix the crime and disorder in our communities so that everybody feels safe. And we need to support and fund our local police departments so that we can accomplish that mission because everybody deserves to live in a safe community.